Hi, I'm Valentina Vee from the A-Team, and welcome to 4-Minute Film School. Today we're talking about how to create cinematic depth with lighting. Let's go. Today we have Alissa Rooney joining me. Hey, Alissa.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you for being here today. Tell the people a little bit about what you do, who you are.
Yeah, so I am a full-time freelance cinematographer. I shoot commercials, documentaries, narrative, you name it.
And for that, you have to have a pretty diverse set of skills, but I feel like when it comes to cinematography, there are some things that are just standard across everything, and one of those is depth. So Alissa, can you tell me a little bit about the setup for this particular shot?
Yeah, so basically we rented a house out in Burbank, and I decided that I wanted to do a little interview setup. In terms of this particular location, it was a very bohemian look.
And when you walk into a practical location like this, what are some things that you look at in terms of how to compose your subject?
I'm looking for depth. We're looking to get depth through the separation, like looking into different rooms. I'm looking for potential highlights in my frame, so whether or not there's going to be windows in it, or like lamps, or any type of like practical lighting. You know, I can use basically what the location already has to offer.
As far as what the subject was wearing, did you have any considerations for what her wardrobe would be like?
Yeah, in terms of wardrobe, I definitely wanted the subject to be in a color that popped. You know, choosing something where the subject is really going to stand out, apart from maybe like the white walls and the wood tones. And also choosing something, you know, obviously that wasn't a distracting pattern or anything, but was still textured and kind of allowed us to see some of the texture in the clothing and stuff.
Yeah, I think that wardrobe is incredibly important and maybe overlooked. It's good to have your subject bring several options.
You always want to make sure that it's complementing, you know, the color palette of whatever you're going for.
Let's talk about the lighting. What is the first light that you set?
Yeah, so the first light that we set when we got there was our key light. We used a Nova with a softbox on it, and then went with a double diffusion by placing a 6x magic cloth in front of that. And we set it to 4300 just to get a nice even balance between obviously 56 and 32.
And the Nova's already a pretty soft panel. What was the reason for shooting it through magic cloth?
It's important to me to have a larger diffusion in front of my key, especially in interviews, just to get a nice soft light on the subject's face, and also just to get a nice wrap around the face with a little bit of fall off.
Talking about the light wrap around the face, I see that you also included a floppy on the other side.
Yeah, we used a floppy on the opposite side for negative fill, just to kind of create a little bit more of a moody image by kind of getting the floppy as close to the subject's face to try to help shape her face and really complement that nice soft key.
And I also noticed that having that fall off on the face accentuates what's going on in the background, because you want to have that full tonal range. When talking about tonal range, what do we mean?
I think when it comes to lighting a specific image, being able to capture the broad range of highlights and shadows, and I think it just ends up forming a well-rounded image that is really pleasing to the eye. We attempted to kind of create that full range by placing a few practicals in the frame to give us really nice highlights that draw the eye, and also not being afraid to let other areas go into shadow.
I also noticed that you had a hair light going on. What was that situation?
Yeah, so the hair light was a 300X with a light dome on it. I specifically went with a light dome just so we could almost make it a little bit more toppy on the subject, kind of to bring out the depth in the room and the character by kind of giving the subject a little bit more shape from above. And then we basically added one more small 1-foot bicolor quasar right next to the subject, just to kind of bring out the side of her face a little bit more as a little bit of an edge light.
We talked a little bit about those practicals. Those were already at the location, right?
Yeah, the practicals were in the location. The one on the very right of the frame was hanging from the ceiling, and was kind of one of the reasons I actually chose this composition, just because I felt like it was incandescent, it was already gorgeous. But I did decide to go kind of like look around the house and see what other practicals were available, and basically placed them in areas that I thought would really balance out the frame.
That back room was a little bit dark, so you added a light into it, correct?
Yeah, so we ended up placing a 300D in the back room, bounced off the ceiling at 5600, basically just to bring up the ambience in the back and also to add to the color contrast of the room. I felt like the overall image was really warm, with obviously what the subject was wearing, the wood tones in the room. So I definitely wanted to include a cooler light in the background just to be able to add to that separation. We did include a little bit of an accent light on the piano. I brought in a 1-foot quasar and just put it on 32 just to bring out the shadows of the piano just ever so slightly, very subtle.
Let's look at all of that put together. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below about who you would want to interview, alive or dead. I want to know, for a chance to win an Aputure M9 light. A big thanks to Alissa for being our instructor for this video. If you want to follow her or me, our social media links are down below. Until next time, happy shooting.